Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rather Good English. I'm Katy. This is the podcast that helps you learn English in a simple and fun way. I'm your host, Katy, and I'm so happy you can join me today. There is no James this time, as this is a slightly different episode. How are you all doing? I hope you are having a wonderful week. I am very excited today because I have a story to share with you. A few weeks ago, I went on holiday. I visited a very big, very famous city in the United States. Can you guess which city? It's often called the Big Apple. That's right, I went to New York City. It was my first time there, and it was an incredible experience. So today, I want to tell you all about my trip. Are you ready? Let's begin. My adventure started, like many adventures do, at the airport. I was so excited. My bag was packed, I had my passport and my ticket, and I couldn't wait to get on the plane. I arrived at Heathrow 3 hours early because I wanted to be safe and not rush. But when I got to the check-in desk, I saw a huge line of people. The queue was so long. It moved very, very slowly. I waited for almost an hour just to check in my suitcase. I was starting to feel a little bit stressed. After I checked in my bag, I had to go through security. This is where they check your bags and make sure you don't have anything dangerous. I thought this would be quick, but I made a mistake. I completely forgot that I had a big bottle of water in my backpack. In airports, you cannot take liquids over 100 milliliters through security. So, the security officer stopped me. He was very polite, but he had to take my water bottle and throw it away. I felt a little silly, but it was my mistake. Finally, I was through security and at my gate. The gate is the place where you wait to get on the plane. I looked at the big screen and I saw that my flight was delayed. Delayed means it was late. It was not leaving on time. First, it was delayed by 30 minutes, then 1 hour. In the end, it was delayed by 2 hours, so I had a lot of time to wait in the airport. I bought a magazine and a new, smaller bottle of water and just tried to be patient. Eventually, we were allowed to get on the plane. This is called boarding the plane. I found my seat, put my bag away and sat down. I was so relieved. I thought, okay, now the holiday can really start. But we had one more problem. The pilot made an announcement. He said there was a small technical issue with the plane and we had to wait on the runway. The runway is the long road that planes use to take off. To take off means to leave the ground and fly into the air. So we sat on the plane, on the runway, for another hour. It felt like the journey would never begin. But then, at last, the engines got louder. The plane started moving faster and faster, and we were in the air. My trip to New York had finally started. After a long flight, we finally landed in New York. I was tired but so excited. I got my suitcase and walked out of the airport. The first thing I did was get a famous New York yellow taxi. It felt just like being in a movie. The driver was very friendly and talked to me all the way to my hotel in Manhattan. My first impression of the city was, wow. Just wow! It is so big and so loud. There are people everywhere, cars everywhere, and the noise of the city is constant. You can always hear sirens, horns, and people talking. And the buildings, they are so tall. They are called skyscrapers. A skyscraper is a very, very tall building. They look like they touch the sky. It's amazing to stand at the bottom and look all the way up. You feel very small. For the next few days, I was a tourist. I explored as much of the city as I could. One of the first places I went to was Times Square. You have probably seen it in films. It is famous for its huge digital billboards and bright lights. It is incredibly bright. Even at night, it feels like daytime. There are so many people there, from all over the world. The energy is amazing. It's a very exciting place, but also very crowded. After the noise and crowds of Times Square, I needed some peace and quiet. So I went to Central Park. Central Park is a huge park right in the middle of Manhattan. It is like a green oasis in a city of concrete and glass. It's beautiful. I walked for hours. I saw people running, riding bicycles, having picnics, and just relaxing on the grass. It was so nice to see trees and nature after all the tall buildings. You can almost forget you are in one of the biggest cities in the world. Of course, I had to see the Statue of Liberty. I took a ferry, which is a type of boat, to Liberty Island. Seeing the statue up close was incredible. She is so much bigger than I imagined. She is a symbol of freedom and hope for so many people. It was a very special moment to be there and see it with my own eyes. I also did a lot of walking. I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, which gives you amazing views of the city skyline. The skyline is the shape the buildings make against the sky. The view from the bridge was one of my favourite things from the whole trip. It was a perfect picture. And let's not forget the food. I had to try a classic New York pizza. The slices are huge. One slice is almost as big as a small pizza in the UK. It was delicious. I also tried a hot dog from a street cart. A street cart is a small kitchen on wheels that you see on the pavement. It's a very popular and cheap way to eat in New York. The city is full of different foods to try from all around the world. I wish I had more time to try everything. New York is also famous for its museums, and I am a big fan of art and history, so I knew I had to visit the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or the Met, as it's known. It is located right next to Central Park, and the building itself is a work of art. It's huge and very grand. You could easily spend days inside and still not see everything. I decided to pick a few exhibits that I was most interested in. I started with ancient Egypt. They have a whole temple that was moved from Egypt and rebuilt inside the museum. It was breathtaking to walk around it and imagine what life was like thousands of years ago. After the historical journey at the Met, I wanted to experience something more modern. So, the next day I went to the Museum of Modern Art, or MoMA. This museum is completely different. It's full of modern and contemporary art, which can be very interesting and sometimes a little strange. I saw some very famous paintings like The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. It was incredible to see it in person. The colours are so bright and emotional. I also saw work by artists like Picasso and Andy Warhol. Some of the art was very thought-provoking. It made me think. It wasn't just paintings, there were sculptures, photographs, and even films. It was a very different experience from the Met, but just as wonderful. It showed me a different side of art and creativity. Now, travelling is always an adventure, and that means sometimes things don't go perfectly. Sometimes you find yourself in funny or awkward situations. I had a couple of these in New York. An awkward situation is one where you feel a little uncomfortable or embarrassed. My first funny moment happened on my first morning. I was a bit jet-lagged, which means my body was still on UK time, and I really needed a coffee. I walked into a small coffee shop near my hotel. In the UK, ordering coffee is usually simple. I just say, "Can I have a regular coffee with milk, please?" So, I went to the counter and said something similar. The person working there, the barista, looked at me and asked, "What kind of brew? Drip, pour over, Americano?" I was confused. I didn't know what these words meant. I just said, a normal one?" He smiled and said, "Okay, drip coffee. What size? Tall, grande, venti?" Again, more words I didn't understand. I just pointed at a medium-sized cup. He then asked, "Room for cream?" I guessed that meant, "Do you want milk?" So I said, "Yes, please." I finally got my coffee, but I felt so silly. I didn't know that ordering a simple coffee could be so complicated. My second awkward moment involved the New York subway. The subway is their underground train system, like the tube in London. To use it, you need to buy a Metro card and then swipe it at the turnstile to enter. A turnstile is the gate that lets you through. Well, this was very difficult for me. I walked up to the turnstile and I swiped my card. A message said, "Swipe again." So I did. Swipe again. I tried swiping faster. Swipe again. I tried swiping slower. Nothing worked. The turnstile would not open. While I was doing this, a long line of people was forming behind me. They were all New Yorkers, and they were in a hurry. They looked very impatient. I could feel my face getting hot and turning red. To turn red is an expression we use when we are embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. Finally, a kind woman behind me said, "Honey, you have to swipe it at just the right speed, not too fast, not too slow, like this." She took her card and swoosh, she went right through. I took a deep breath, tried again, and this time it worked. The gate opened. I almost cheered. I said a big thank you to the woman and hurried to the platform. It seems so simple, but for a tourist, even using the subway can be a challenge. So, that was my big trip to New York City. From the stressful start at the airport to the amazing skyscrapers and my awkward moments with coffee and the subway, it was a holiday I will never forget. The city has so much energy and so many things to see and do. I would recommend it to anyone. I hope you enjoyed listening to my story today, and I hope you also learned some new English words and phrases like skyscraper, delayed, take off, and the expression to turn red. The best way to learn a language is to listen to stories, and I love sharing them with you. Thank you so much for listening to Rather Good English. If you enjoyed this episode, please think about subscribing to the podcast on whatever platform you use. That way, you won't miss the next episode. And if you have a moment, leaving a like is a great help. It helps other English learners from around the world to find our little community. That's all from me for today. I'll be back soon with another story. Until then, take care, keep practicing your English, and goodbye.